Have you ever had that feeling, that nagging, persistent sense that you're running on a hamster wheel and someone else is holding the speed control? You work hard, you put in the hours, you follow all the rules, but when you look up, the scenery never changes. It's a quiet sort of desperation, a silent hum of is this all there is? We grow up with a very specific, deeply ingrained formula for life. Study hard, get good grades, go to a good college, land a secure job, and you will be successful. You'll be safe. It's presented as the ironclad path to a good life. But take a hard, honest look around. For the vast majority, that path doesn't lead to freedom. It leads to a 40-year-long trade of your most precious resource, your time, for just enough money to live, but rarely enough to truly thrive. It leads to living for the weekends and a constant low-grade anxiety about bills. The truth is, this isn't an accident. It's a result of a system. From the moment we first walk into a classroom, our minds are being meticulously conditioned. We are not being trained to be bold innovators or creative architects of our own lives. We are being trained to be compliant, predictable, and reliable employees. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain and expose how the traditional school system is brilliantly designed to program you for an employee mindset, and more importantly, how you can begin the essential work of breaking free. This programming is so subtle and begins so early, we internalize it as the way things are. Let's dissect the core structure of a typical school day. What behaviors are consistently rewarded? Following instructions to the letter, memorizing facts for a test, sitting still, being quiet, and raising your hand for permission to speak. You are handed a syllabus on day one, pre-written map for the entire year. Your job isn't to question the map or explore a different route. Your job is to follow it perfectly. The entire system is built on a foundation of compliance. Now, let's flip that. What behaviors are discouraged? Questioning the curriculum, challenging a teacher's assertion, collaborating in a way that looks messy. And the biggest one, failure. In school, failure is a final verdict, a source of shame. It's a bright red F on a paper. This creates a deep-seated, almost primal fear of failure in our minds. We learn a dangerous equation. Risk equals potential failure, which equals pain and shame. Therefore, risk is bad. When you finally toss that graduation cap in the air, that mental programming doesn't just vanish. It becomes your life's default operating system. You find yourself drawn to jobs with clear instructions because uncertainty is terrifying. You shy away from that business idea because the voice in your head, trained by years of red marks, screams, "What if you fail?" You have been perfectly conditioned to be a dependable cog in a machine that someone else designed, built, and owns. But the most powerful lessons school teaches us are not found in any textbook. They are part of the hidden curriculum, the unspoken norms and values that shape our worldview. This curriculum teaches you, above all else, to wait for permission. You wait for the bell to tell you when to move, when to eat, when to learn. You wait for the teacher to tell you what to read and what's important. This erodes your sense of internal initiative. It trains you to be passive. It also teaches you to compartmentalize the world. Science is from 9 to 10, history is from 10 to 11. The subjects never mix. This is the opposite of how the real world works. An entrepreneur doesn't think in silos. They have to be a marketer, a financier, and a strategist, all in the same hour. This structure is the perfect training ground for a large corporate environment. You're given a job description, a manager, and a set of KPIs. This system is fundamentally at odds with owner thinking. An owner doesn't wait for the bell to ring. They decide how to spend their time based on their own priorities. An owner doesn't see failure as a final grade. They see it as critical market feedback, as data. An owner doesn't just follow the map. They are constantly redrawing it. The employee mindset keeps you in a state of dependency. It makes you believe that security is a gift from your boss. But true security, the kind that leads to financial freedom, never comes from an external source. It comes from owning your skills, your decisions, and your path. Now, let's look at the real-world evidence. Let's talk about the people who rejected this programming. Think of entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Sara Blakely, or Walt Disney. Were they the ones who always colored inside the lines? Almost never. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because his editor told him he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He then started a company that went bankrupt. He failed, and failed again, before creating Mickey Mouse. Sara Blakely, the founder of Spanx, failed the LSAT twice trying to become a lawyer. She then spent her life savings, just $5,000, to create a prototype for a product everyone told her was a bad idea. She faced rejection after rejection. She didn't have a map. She was driven by a problem she wanted to solve. And Steve Jobs famously dropped out of college, but he didn't stop learning. He started dropping in on classes that genuinely interested him, including a calligraphy class. At the time, it had zero practical application. It was a pursuit driven purely by curiosity. A decade later, when designing the first Macintosh computer, that knowledge of typography became the foundation of Apple's beautiful interface. What do these stories tell us? They tell us that the world's greatest innovators don't succeed because they followed the system. They succeed because they deviated from it. They learned to treat failure as tuition, not a final exam. They followed their own curiosity, not just a syllabus. They understood that playing it safe is the single riskiest strategy of all. They chose to write their own rules. So the critical question is, how do you deprogram yourself? It doesn't happen with one grand gesture. It happens through a series of small, deliberate, and consistent actions. The first and most important step is awareness. You have to start noticing the employee programming in your own thoughts and behaviors. When your boss gives you a new project, is your first instinct to simply execute, or is it to ask why? Do you see your salary as your only possible source of income? That awareness is the flashlight that illuminates the mental prison bars. Once you see the bars, you can start to dismantle them. Start by questioning everything, not in a cynical way, but in a curious way. Ask why it's your job. Don't just accept that's how we've always done it as a valid reason. Second, commit to a self-directed education in financial literacy. School teaches you how to work for money, but it never teaches you how money works. Read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad or The Psychology of Money. Listen to podcasts. This knowledge is the language of owners, and you need to become fluent. Third, and this is crucial, start a small project on the side. It could be anything reselling items on eBay, starting a niche blog, offering a freelance service. The goal is not to get rich overnight. The goal is to experience the entire cycle of ownership on a small, manageable scale. This is your personal laboratory, your training ground for the owner mindset. Each small step weakens the old programming. As you continue on this path, something truly incredible begins to happen. The new actions that once felt risky start to feel normal. Acting like an owner becomes your natural state. You start to see opportunities where you once saw only problems. A layoff isn't just a crisis. It's a chance to finally launch that business. A customer complaint isn't an attack. It's a free consultation on how to improve. You begin to view risk not as a threat to be avoided, but as the price of admission for any meaningful reward. You stop seeking the illusion of security from a paycheck and start building real security through your own assets, skills, and reputation. This is the ultimate mental shift. It's the transition from being a passenger in a car driven by someone else to getting behind the wheel and choosing your own destination. Remember, your brain is not fixed. Neuroplasticity is a scientific fact. The habits, fears, and beliefs that were drilled into you can be unlearned and replaced. It takes courage to step off the well-trodden path. It takes consistency to keep walking when you feel lost. But on the other side of that discomfort lies the one thing the safe path can never offer you: genuine freedom. The freedom to control your time, your income, and your life's purpose. Financial freedom isn't a lottery ticket. It is the direct result of breaking free from the employee mindset and having the courage to build, to create, and to own. The system trained you to work for someone else, but you have the power to change your programming. It starts right now. Make one small decision today that an owner would make. Question one assumption. Read one article about investing. Sketch out one idea for a side project. Every single action matters. Your life will transform the moment you decide to stop being a character in someone else's story and start writing your own. Thanks for watching. If this message resonated with you and you're ready to start your journey, hit that subscribe button for more content to help you break the system and build your own future.